What is up, you guys? We are here for our midweek alchemy message. I know it's night and I've been filming during the day, but I promise I did film during the day today. I just was filming for our 2026 prediction series. Yay! So I finished November today. So I've got our December video, and I think I'm going to do an outro video to just tie up all the concepts and things. And finishing notes, but I'm really excited about this next year. I think that it is going to be night and day from 2025, not without its challenges. There will be challenges, but they're going to be, there's been very specific topics that follow us throughout the year. So there are like core root issues, and then there are other little things that add to it that are all interrelated. And this is like parallel with like our progress towards our goals and our manifestations and our purpose and all of that too. So this is going to be a super helpful workshop to have as a tool to reference throughout the year. You'll have a yearly overview with a Celtic cross reading that looks at the year as a big picture. And then there are quarterly readings that give you a breakdown of each season and what that holds, and the way that we can utilize the seasons best. And then there are monthly readings that go hone in on more detail as we go step by step through the process through the year. So I can't believe how specific and consistent our message is throughout the year, and it really unfolds with such continuity, and each reading builds on the other. So it's an incredible workshop to sit through the whole thing once if you wanted to binge it over a week or so, and then go back on, every month and watch the monthly readings at the beginning of the month. And then even referencing the quarterly readings, maybe, at the beginning of each season again. And, you'll have the yearly overview to go back and reference. But in addition, I have like journal questions and prompts in the description boxes so that you can work through and workshop like the topics that we're facing and the themes that we're working with. So we can really embody that information and it will stay with us. They're the kind of questions that they're not super hard to remember. So they're the kind of questions that stick with you through the weeks. And as things are coming up in life, it's like we remember those questions. We remember the answers that we wrote down. Even if you don't ever take the time to actually sit and journal, which I highly suggest you do. There's very powerful scientific evidence behind this, but mystical, anecdotal, proof, anecdotal proof over, time that proves like writing something out is an act of magic, and it helps you really work something into your nervous system. It helps you get that, like plant that deep into your subconscious. So it helps you embody the material that you're learning even better when you write it down. But also from a manifesting perspective, it is the first act of, it is an example of a first act of creation, whereas you've gotten the idea crystallized in your mind, and then you write it out, and it is like a physical manifestation of that. And so whenever we're doing like symbolic gestures as a ritual act, basically what that does is demonstrates the spiritual truth in a physical way, and it kind of helps the process flow, right? So it's the same like in spiritual rituals, right? When we do a physical action, it represents the spiritual truth of the technology that's happening on a spiritual level. And that's how we anchor it into the material world. We pull down the process that's happening in the spiritual, and through the physical action that brings that into the physical. That's why our speech, right? Our words are so powerful, because they are the first physicalized form of creating something from nothing. All right, let's get into today. And I'm almost done with the 2026 prediction series. I need to film, let's see, I got through November today, so tomorrow's December and the outro video, and then I'll be editing and doing like the artwork and the thumbnails and stuff for the video and the cover art and all that. So it is going to be up soon. I will let you guys know every step of the way, the progress report. I'm hoping to have it up for sale in the shop in my stand store by next week. So you guys can go ahead and be using like the Christmas holidays to start thinking about things and get your mind in that whole fun, New Year kind of mood. All right, so let's get into the reading. So from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, we have the Raven's Head, followed by Sublimation, and followed by Synchronicity. Underneath Raven's Head, we have Six of Pentacles. Underneath Sublimation, we have the Page of Pentacles. And underneath Synchronicity, we have the Queen of Cups. So, as usual, there are layered messages here. So I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio really fast. And you can see the layout of the spread. And then we'll come right back in and unpack the cards in detail. This week, Advent and the quickening of the winter solstice invite us into a process of descent into our own darkness. There are miracles available to us during this season, but they can only be kissed if we draw back the veil of our defenses. If we don't sit with the silence, if we do not examine the pain and sadness and anger and judgment hidden in the shadows, we cannot be freed from them. True joy can only be revealed when we make peace with pain. We wrestle with angels through these hours of darkness and demand they name themselves. Although we might come away with a limp, we will triumph over them. Everything that is happening right now is happening to show us the negative forces that hold dominion over us. As we learn to identify our opponent, we transcend these lackeys of darkness and claim power over them. Wrath, despair, greed, lust, ignorance, fear, slothfulness, gluttony, judgment. We see the hideousness of these demons for what they truly are, and we pray diligently to be redeemed from them. However, this is not a passive rescue, but a ravine we are required to climb out of. God will provide each stepping stone, each foothold, but we must seek and pursue change and transformation as if our very lives depend on it. This is what it means to follow Christ. We must pick up our own cross and bear the weight of it. We cannot be freed from Pharaoh by ignoring Pharaoh. If we do not face Pharaoh, we will remain a slave to the darkness and negativity. God wants us to be free of Pharaoh. God is calling us to leave our enslavement, but it is we that have to pick up and leave Egypt. During the Christmas season, we aren't just celebrating what happened in the past, the fulfillment of ancient prophecy, but a living prophecy, a living promise. We celebrate the miracle that Christ can be born in us at any moment that we accept the inception of the light. In Hanukkah, we light the candles and gaze into them as if they were the very light of the face of God. We allow this light to fill our wounds. We allow the trumpets to declare the good news of the gospel to our longing souls. Salvation is here. There is new life, new light, a new day is dawning, and eternal treasures are at hand. There is joy to be declared to the world, and this is a force of power that obliterates darkness and causes mountains to tremble in awe. Okay, so the Raven's Head is a card that signals the invitation into the work, into the process. And you're like, how am I getting a call to adventure? I'm still on the adventure. Like, how is the universe inviting me into process when I'm already in it? And we're going deeper into the process. Like we talked about in the audio, we're in the season of Advent. And the winter, like the fall lead up into the winter solstice, and the winter solstice itself, and the Feast of Christmas, and the 13 days of Christmas, and all of that, there's such a powerful time. And the 8 days of Hanukkah. This is truly a miraculous time of year to do a lot of transformation and have a lot of healing and a lot of revelation and reveal so much light and so many miracles. But we really don't ever think of it a lot like that. We get, caught up in the magic of the season and all of the fun and the joy and the mirth. And we don't ever really think about the winter holidays as much as far as like the deep inner work as we do at the other times of year, especially in like Passover and Lent season. And then in, when we do Teshuvah and we have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in the fall. There's actually a lot of powerful healing and transformation and miracles that can be revealed in the process of Advent as well. So I am not a Catholic, but I am attracted to Catholicism. But I have been learning more about the intercorrelations of Christmas and Hanukkah and solstice over the last few years, and I have had such a more sacred experience through the Christmas season because of knowing more and more depth about how each holiday kind of overlaps the other and is interrelated, and they are all part of the same story. And to me, and not just to me, but like when we look at the pagan holiday of Yule and the solstice, right? It's nature's way of representing a cosmic universal truth that is already there. And the things that are universally cosmically true, it's like, it's that story, that truth is projected in every layer, every dimension, every expression of the universe. So the zodiac, the sky, is obviously telling, so many stories and so many truths. And so declaring or demonstrating the prophecies of the coming Christ, it's all happening in the sky. And then you have the Old Testament, and everything in the Old Testament, all the prophecies, they're the foretelling of the coming of the Messiah, right? The coming of the Christ. And so then we have the birth of the Christ, right? In the solstice season. And I know that we don't know for sure when Christ was born, but the way that it was decided to be celebrated, even if it's true that Rome chose these days for political reasons, it's like they were the pawns in God's scheme, right? Everything fell right into place. Because once we get to the solstice, the darkening of the day and the restriction of the light, and we were talking about this the other day in the video, it represents, like the day of the solstice, the darkest day of the year, represents when Christ was crucified, right? And the 3 days that darkness overlaps, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, those days the sun is like suspended in its its state. So our days aren't longer, and they're in their darkest state for those 3 days. That represents the time when, or it's telling of, or symbolic of, or it's like the nature representing when Christ was had died and gone into the underworld, right, and defeated the opponent in the underworld and freed all of the souls that were left there in limbo, waiting for Christ to come and transcend and open up higher levels that we could reach. He opened the gates of higher levels so that the souls that were trapped in limbo and purgatory could ascend into heaven. So that's the crucifixion. And so then what happens in the sky, the light starts to pierce through the atmosphere. And once we get to Christmas morning, it's like starting that day, it's like the days start to grow longer again. And the light grows brighter in the sky, and there's that different quality of light that's coming back. The light begins to return. And that's the birth of the sun, right? The rebirth of the sun every year, but that's when we celebrate the birth of the Son of God, right? So it's a really beautiful parallel there and synchronicity in the sky. But during Hanukkah, for instance, the point of Hanukkah is not to necessarily celebrate this historical event that the Maccabees came the Greeks and the defilement of the oils in the temple and the defilement of the Jewish faith by infiltrating it with all of the Greek traditions, so that the people, even if they did want to worship, it was like their knowledge had been diluted and defiled, and they didn't know the pure law to maintain the pure law of the Torah at that point. Like, it just like the culture had infiltrated, the oils had been defiled. So yes, we do remember the battle of the Maccabees that won and overcame the Greeks, and that's the historical topical story that we know, but there's a deeper spiritual process going on. And during Hanukkah, during these dark days, we are actually able to connect with this pure form of the light of the Creator that is just coming down. And it is one of the few holidays of the year. There's Hanukkah and Purim are the two holidays that we don't have to perfect ourselves to bring God to us, that we don't have to fast, that we don't have to restrict, that we don't have to do these go into these deep processes of work and preparation. It's like it's a joyous festival and feast of light, right? And all we're required to do is sit in the dimly lit room and look at the candles. And you're not supposed to sit in a dark room, because the light of the candles is not supposed to be functional and serve a purpose for mundane lighting up the room. But the function of the candles is only to represent the light of God. They're only a spiritual immanence sitting there. So you sit and you connect with the light, and you see that's the same light as the light that's in all of us, that's in God. And we are, through this, taking in, through the connection with the light of the candles, we're infusing ourselves with this light. But during the days, during the process of this time of year, the key is also to sit within the darkness of the season, but embrace that darkness and sit within the darkness of ourselves. Because isn't it true that this time of year, it brings up these tender emotions and tender feelings, and we get wistful and nostalgic, and memories come forward, and, things can be painful, people we've lost, and people reflect on their life a lot around the holidays in this time of year. And so that's actually good, though. We need to embrace that and not go into like this deluge of despair and holiday blues, but actually use it in an active way, right? So we search ourselves for our own inner darkness. If we have bitterness, if we have fear, if we have judgment, if we have grudges, if we have sadness and disappointments that haunt us, it's like this is the time of year where we take that bitterness and we turn it into sweetness. And we seek out that darkness so that we can transform that during this time of year and use that miracle of the light, right? But it's like we have to choose to embrace, to seek that part of ourselves out, or else it's too easy to avoid it, right? We don't like to sit in the pain. We don't like to sit in the discomfort. We don't like to really think about things. And so many people spend their whole lives avoiding silence and avoiding stillness because they're afraid of what's going to happen when the thoughts start coming up, right? And so when we're afraid to deal with it, we don't want to look, that thing owns us. It has power over us. It's like a demon that keeps dominion over us, and it feeds off that fear, and it feeds off of that avoidance, and it feeds off that negativity that's still festering, right? But when we seek out the darkness and we shine a light on it, we look right at it, it takes its power away. Jacob wrestled the angel at night, right? And the angel was there as like a negative force to challenge him. And Jacob, in the midst of wrestling this angel, he said, "Name yourself. What is your name?" And that angel disappeared. That negative angel disappeared. And so basically what that means is that the opponent, the enemy, it always wants to evade being called out or seen for what it is. It's trying to be elusive and stay in the shadows and not be identified, right? Because when we see something out in the open and we name it, it has less hold over us, right? When we're dreading something and we're feel fearful of it and we avoid it, but then we're like, know what? I'm just going to get it over with. I'm going to rip it off like a Band-Aid. I'm just going to face this and deal with it now, right? Then it's like it doesn't have any power over us anymore. So when we can make peace generally with the fact that there's going to be discomfort in life, there's going to be pain, and we can make peace with that pain and use it productively and wisely to say, okay, what's causing me pain right now? What am I afraid of? Where are my fears coming from? Do I doubt that the Creator's going to take care of me? Where is my anger coming from right now? What am I mad about? Am I bitter about things? Am I disappointed at things? How can I change the way that I perceive what has played out so that I'm embracing and taking ownership over my story, over my life? I'm not the victim of it. So this time of year, our opportunity is to look at the pressure that we're feeling, to look at those difficult emotions coming up, to look at our darkness, to look at the things in our life that we want to avoid, that we don't want to look into. And this is the time of year where we can have true and miraculous change in ways that we don't necessarily have access to in the rest of the year. It's like this time of year can change us in warmer, softer ways than maybe during other parts of the year where we might experience harsher judgment. So we have the raven's head, which is the invitation to the alchemist into the lab to look at the work. And here we have, what is the treasure? Here is that pearl, the pearl of wisdom, the pearl of understanding. And so we have the Six of Pentacles here, which is an equal exchange and even a windfall of blessing. And so to me, it's like we're going to get out of this season what we give it and what we put in and the effort that we make. But we're not even just going to get back what we put in. I think that we're going to get more than we put in, right? We're going to get our spiritual investment back with interest. Like God will bless our efforts and expand them if we are sincere in wanting to transform and change. And not just so that our life is more pleasant and palatable, but so that we are becoming a greater vessel for God, for the light to be channeled through into the world, right? You know, when we can become a greater vessel, that means lots of things. It means, hey, I have a deeper desire to share with others. I have a deeper desire to be more understanding or kinder to others. I have a deeper desire to get up early and leap into the day with determination and conviction to bring my talents and my gifts into the world for the sake of sharing those with others so that I can help lift up other people, right? And so the more that we purify that the residue that the ego has left behind, the brighter that our soul can shine through, and the greater a channel we can be to bring through light from the Creator to share into the world. Think about just tithing, right? I am a server, so sometimes I go in, I make unpredictable amounts of money. Sometimes there's options to volunteer to take a cut if we have to cut the floor, and so if I want to be a greater vessel of sharing, then in moments where I feel lazy, like, oh, I don't want to go into work tonight, or I could work on this instead, or I could work on this project, if I'm thinking about not only myself and I'm becoming a greater vessel of sharing, then that means that at some point I might naturally in the wild organically think, you know what, I need to actually work that shift because then I'll have more money to tithe, right? That's the ideal. That's when we figured it out, like, oh, I'm giving from a humble heart, like I need to be able to give more, not, oh gosh, this is how much I have to give this week. It's like, no, I need to make more money so that I have more to share, right? And where does that thought come from? It's like I have to have the energy. I have to have, the good sleep and take care of myself. So I'm in the right mindset to be in that thought process to begin with, to feel like, you know what, I'm going to work this shift, or I'm going to pick up an extra one, or whatever it is. It's like this is the effort that we make to be the greater vessel. And because of that, we expand our capacity to bring in blessing and to hold blessing and to receive blessing too. So it spills over, but I know sometimes we think, oh no, the invitation into the lab, into the alchemist's lab, like what are we transmuting now? What process are we going through? But if we can go into it joyfully and embrace the process, then the tests I think that they become a little bit softer when we don't have to learn from extreme chaos, and we can start to learn in more loving, gentler ways. Then we can be taught in gentler ways. But if we're ignoring our pain until it gets so loud that it's impossible to ignore, then that's when we have to go through more painful processes, because that's what it took to get your attention, right? So embracing the season, embracing the uncomfortable feelings when they come up, because those are the feelings that are telling you what needs to be looked at closer, what needs to be re-examined, what needs to be evaluated, where we need to pray, where we need to maybe do some work on ourselves, or to deepen our understanding or awareness about something, right? So, and I think what we put in, we will receive back. So if we are prepared for that windfall of opportunity, then that's better, because then we won't lose out on what we've gained, right? We won't let it just slip through our fingers, but we'll know to be watching for that gift that comes. So the sublimation card is a card that describes like the process of becoming transcendent. And as we heal, we do elevate and we start to ascend, but we don't want to start feeling like we're ascending away from everyone. We don't want that to give us this feeling of superiority or separation, or even the tendency to want to be the hermit that goes up into the mountain, right? Because the mountain is great. We can spend all our time connecting with the Creator, which is awesome, but we're not challenged by other people. right? The inconveniences, the annoyances, the people that press our buttons aren't on top of the mountain. So it's easy to think that you're doing all this work up there because you're serene, you're peaceful, man, I'm in a good place. But where the real work gets done is in the grit, around all the people that get on your nerves. And it's like, can you find inner peace and cultivate inner peace within the racket, within the mess, within the annoyances? Because that's where the real work gets done, right? And so the Page of Pentacles, it's like there's a new level that we're entering into, a new level where we're learning new things. We might be starting something that's new, that's going to bring a new opportunity for sustenance. But the Page of Pentacles is someone who is maybe starting something like an endeavor, and it could be like something that they're learning or a skill that they're building, or it could be something that they're creating or producing, right? But pentacles are about physicality. So it's usually, it has to do with like learning and being an apprentice to something, or like starting a business, or being like a college student, or and getting like a master's degree. But this is an enthusiastic student. But sometimes the downside of the Page of Pentacles is that they kind of hold themselves back into that student role for a little too long until they're kind of pushed in to jump out of the nest, right? So we can't stay in student mode forever. We're rising into another level, but at the same time, it's like as we move into the next level, we feel like that we're at the bottom again. Because when we're about to graduate, right, we feel like we're at the top of a level. We've come this far and we've climbed, and it's like when we graduate from high school, right? We're on top of the world. We're seniors. Fuck everybody else. But then you go to college, you're nobody, and you're a freshman. And you're learning everything all over again, right? And so you come at it with a beginner's mind, right? And so here, and it's like the more humble we can be and the more humility we have, the better student we are, the more that we can receive, the more changeable and adaptable and open, to the transmutation of spirit, of the influence of the Christ consciousness coming over us, changing our hearts, changing our perspective, changing our thoughts about things, right? And then we have synchronicity, which again, it's like everything that's happening right now in your life, nothing is an accident. Every little stress, every little thing that's like bugging us, everything that is significant right now, that is noticeable on our radar, is designed specifically to help initiate you into this process of Advent, and Advent is the same. It's like, because I've been learning about it the past few days, specifically from that lens. And it's kind of the same idea, essentially, as Hanukkah, as the solstice. It's like going into the darkness and embracing that part of us, that messy part that is, trying to birth something new out in the middle of a mess. In the messy situation, in the dirty, in the filth, in the cold and exposed, right? The stable that Mary gave birth in, it was not a clean, beautiful, luxurious, comfortable place, right? It was out in the elements. It was exposed. You're there with all the animals, right? And the filth and the smell, and this is where the Son of God is being birthed in this situation. And so again, our own inner darkness in our heart is like that. It's a pile of mess, it's a bunch of bullshit over here and a pile of crap over here. And it's messy and it's bloody and it's cold and it's drafty and it's raw and it smells. And that's where Christ comes to us. Not in the perfection, not in the beauty of the majestic cathedrals, but in the most humble place. So as we, take heed of the circumstances. Don't just rush through the holiday season in huff and stress and moments of pain and thinking about heartbreaks and disappointments, and don't just skim through it. But these are showing up as invitations, as gifts. I can be healed now. You can see this in a new light. I am going to deliver you from this pain and free you from it so that you don't have to live in fear of the haunting that this has over you. But the only thing that we have to ask of you is that you look at it, you look right at it, and you get comfortable in its presence. And the more comfortable you are in that presence, and the more you invite Christ in to help soothe that wound and to be the balm of healing and to help you transmute the way that your entire consciousness around how you perceive that, and even finding through hindsight how in the aftermath of the situation that God's face has been revealed through the situation. Like, you have been changed, you have been refined through this, you have been sweetened in this process, or you can be. So we have the Queen of Cups here with the synchronicity. And the Queen of Cups, what do we know about the Queen of Cups? She's the most intuitive. She's the most insightful in that kind of psychic, intuitive sense. She's the most sensitive empath. And this is the downside of the Queen of Cups too, because many times the Queen of Cups is so empathic and she cares so much about others and making sure that everyone else is emotionally and spiritually nourished, and everybody's needs are taken care of, that many times her needs go unmet. And she gets kind of dragged down and worn down because she's trying to take care of everybody else. So what we have to do as the Queen of Cups is have a healthy balance of give and take, right? What you're putting in, if you're putting in and into a relationship that never gives back, right? Like you would think, okay, I need to rethink this, right? So the Queen of Cups her lesson is to be able to feel comfortable and free to joyfully and lightly establish healthy boundaries of her limits, and being able to say no sometimes, and making sure that she does take care of her own needs so that she's a vessel that can go out and be the greatest light, right? I'm going to make sure that I get the sleep that I need, that I eat the healthy food that I need, that I get the spiritual nourishment I need to be able to show up and be a vessel of the light of the Creator, right? I'm not just running myself down into nothing. Then I'm not a great vessel for the Creator. Then I'm dysfunctional. Then I'm falling apart, and I'm not a beacon of the light, right? So saying no is sometimes the most generous thing that you can do, and sometimes it's the most sacred thing that you can do, right? If you need to say no to give yourself that room to fill your tank again. I think too, the Queen of Cups is seeing the bigger picture, and is seeing how things are interrelated and tied together on a new level. And so it's all clicking to a degree where it's like, when you see those movies where a detective has been hunting down their suspect, and they have the bulletin board set up with all of the evidence and the yarn linking all of the evidence together, right? It's like that. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing it all so clearly. Now I know how to crack this case. Now I know how to approach this, right? But we can't see that if we're not willing to look at it, right? And so that's the process we're being invited into. It's like looking at our own evidence board, right? And really getting to the root of what is generating and keeping us stuck and bound in our own darkness. And the key to our liberation can be found in that self-examination. God is always trying to give us the answers. God is always trying to give us divine guidance and divine inspiration, but it's our capacity to be able to receive that. and our willingness to be able to accept that when we receive that that's the answer, right? So seeing the things that are coming up right now is not meaningless coincidences, but they are actually signs and synchronicities leading us in a direction. There also might be something in the material world where we are being invited into a next chapter of growth, and we might be looking at life from a new lens and having a deeper sense of value and self-worth that leads us to examine, are we putting in more than we're ever giving back in life, right? Like, are you, is the place that you work, like like treating you the way you deserve, right? I know that the answer is probably no for most of us right now. In the United States particularly, I know that the world we're all going through it right now. Unless you're absolutely wealthy or upper middle class and you're comfortable, like we're all kind of like struggling to make ends meet. And so again, it's like reevaluating, the little pillars of our life. Are we getting out what we're putting in here? Even when it comes down to like small things, like the way that we're spending our money every month, the subscription services that you have, are you getting what you're putting in? Are you getting enough worth out of it to make it worth it, right? Are you appreciated in your career or your job? For instance, like for YouTube, is YouTube worth like my consistent showing up and giving? YouTube itself might not be, if I'm thinking that ad money is going to pay me ever. It won't really, but I can shift my strategy some, right? And create another level of offerings, right? Through courses or through Substack. Like, evaluate your plans. Are you investing in something that's going to pay off? Are you giving to something that's going to yield in return, right? Your spiritual work will always yield treasure. That is eternal value right there. That is the only thing that is guaranteed to be worth your while, right? And so you may see, okay, as you evaluate the situation and you're looking for something that has better give and take, or has a better return on what you're putting in, you might find a new level where you can rise up to something new, to graduate into, say, maybe you decide to go back and get a degree and go further in your career. Maybe you don't need to go back and get a degree to go further in your career. Maybe you just want to ask for like a promotion or a raise. Maybe you're looking for a new place to apply to, because like if you're at one company and you ask for a raise, it's not going to be nearly as much as if you had gotten a job at a new company and just start out as at a higher salary, right? So thinking about these things, the Page of Pentacles here, it's like starting something like new, is sort of like a novice, like you could be starting a new venture, right? Like my second platform, like Substack and Patreon, I'm kind of working on that in the background right now. And so that's something new that I would be starting that would hopefully be bringing me up to another level, right? But it wouldn't be me leaving it all behind. Oh, it's not worth it. I'm above this. It's not that attitude. It's like, how can you bring the whole thing up and not throw it out, right? And I'm going to read the sublimation card too. But I just feel that there's something about starting a new venture with this Page of Pentacles. It's like either you're starting to learn something new, or maybe starting a course, or looking into maybe like a side hustle or something to that degree. But I just feel like there's something that we're starting that's attached to something materialistic, right? Because we're in the Pentacles here. So it's got to do something about something we're making, or even, something that has to do with an extra stream of income, perhaps, but I feel like there's something about us in a beginner's mind, or in like like from a learning perspective right now, like open and curious student, ready to learn, ready to grow. And so if you are looking for a new opportunity, then, and you're putting it out there and you feel the universe sort of kind of hinting at your heart that something is afoot, like change is afoot, then look for the synchronicities that keep showing up that might be signaling you, hey, over here, like look into that. There's a good opportunity over here for you. Like check this out and see if this is something that would be lucrative, right? And the synchronicity will keep showing up and keep showing up, just keep showing up. You have to be the Queen of Cups. You have to pay attention to that inner guidance and follow through on it. Because you know who does that? The Empress. And that's why she's so fertile and so abundant, because when she gets that inner guidance, she takes action. She's the exact balance of the feminine and the masculine, perfectly integrated. All right, so let us read Sublimation. Sorry, we're burning daylight here, guys. Apologize. I wasn't planning on reading from the book. That's why I don't have it marked already. Coagulation. Sublimatio. Elevation, rising, flight. Sublimatio is the greatest alchemical operation of air. It occurs when there is enough heat to change a solid substance into gas. Again, that idea of this heat, this pressure coming down on us this time of year, it's changing us. It's there to bring us into a different state of being. So it occurs when there's enough heat to change a solid substance into gas, causing it to rise up, 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 and away. Therefore, when sublimation is present, there is an aspect of celebrated elevation and of ascending above and gaining a greater perspective. Again, Chanukah is a feast of light. It's a feast of joy. It has to do with Adam, from the Adam and Eve, Adam of the garden. He fasted for 8 days, or he fasted for an indefinite period of time, because after the fall, after they ate the fruit of the garden, this was in September. And so this is near the fall equinox when the days start growing shorter. And so in Adam's perspective, he thought that he had ruined creation and they were descending back into darkness and they were going to be obliterated and wiped out. And so Adam was like, oh no, I've ruined creation for all of the future generations of human beings to come. Like, I have ruined life. I've ruined all of everything. And so Adam was determined, I'm going to fast and I'm going to pray and I'm going to be in this process with God until I change God's mind, till God saves us and the light returns. Well, Adam started this, initiated this during the darkest day. When it got the absolute darkest is when he started. And so after those first 3 days, or maybe it was, I can't remember, it lines up perfectly with Hanukkah and solstice and Christmas, but however it works, Adam began fasting, and by the 8th day, that is when the light started to grow again in the atmosphere. And so then he was like, okay, 8 days, I'm going to set aside 8 days for feasting and for joy, and we're going to bring in the light this way. And it was like the opposite of the fast. He was like, okay, from now on, we're going to commemorate these 8 days, these miraculous days of this fast, by feasting for 8 days and bringing in the light and celebrating the light. Well, this laid the groundwork because the mystical cosmic gates of spirit were opened by those 8 days, and every year Adam remembered those 8 days. It paved the way for the Maccabees to defeat the Greeks during that period of time. It wasn't just that, oh, during this war, the light of the candles kept burning for 8 days, and now we have a holiday. It's because of that time period that the battle was able to be won, that the miracle happened, and that the light of the candles in the lamp burned for that extra time. It was like enough light to light the menorah for, I think, 1 day, but it ended up lasting for 8. And the significance of the number 8 is that 7 is the number of the dimensions of reality that human beings can access. And so they're the 7 days of the week. It's like the number that represents the nature, like the natural world that humans experience and live in, this 3D world. And the 8th anything, that represents when we've gone past the natural world, and now we've broken into the supernatural, where miracles can be revealed. So without preparing and just going off memory from the years before that I've kind of put all these things together for you guys, I would like to do that again. I'd like to do another video this year for like a Christmas video that goes into all this stuff, but neither here nor there. So we're using the way that we approach Hanukkah, back to the point, is that this isn't a solemn holiday, even though there is that essence of going into the darkness and facing it. We approach Hanukkah as the celebration of the holiday with joy, with mirth, with sweet pastries. Right? That's the food blessing, because we want to take in the sweetness of life and the sweetness of joy and the sweetness of abundance. So we are celebrating in that joyous state. We're elevating our spirits through the joy, rising up to meet God when God has come down to us. And the other holiday, by the way, when I was talking about this earlier, the other holiday that God comes down to us through joy, and that it is our joy that's so great that pulls God down to us, that we don't have to like be these rogues that like, fast and try to perfect ourselves so that we can like rise up a little bit to meet the miraculous energy. The miraculous energy comes all the way down to us and is drawn down by our unity and by our joy. And the other holiday that this happens is Purim. And Purim is a holiday where one of the mitzvahs is to actually be out of your mind drunk so that you're so happy and you're so surrendered and you're so joyful. But I guess not so drunk that you end up throwing up, because you're not joyful anymore. You're not surrendered. Okay, so as with all the operations, sublimation has a shadow potential. Hold on, I've skipped a line. So I'm going to go back a little bit. Therefore, when sublimation is present, there's an aspect of celebrated elevation, of ascending above and gaining a greater perspective. Birds in flight, mountain peaks, ladders, and balloons are all sublimatio images. It's funny because ladders is here, and we just talked about Jacob wrestling the angel. Jacob's ladder in the dream, right? In the dark time of uncertainty, in the nighttime, right? When people are in the Bible are having things happen at night or in their dark, it's when things are uncertain. It's when we're going through difficulties. It's when we're going through challenge, or the dark night of the soul, right? It's not usually literally only meaning the dark night, right, of the sky. So Jacob ascended the ladder. His ascension came during the challenge of the darkness, climbing up by, his efforts, the rungs of the ladder, the heightening of the rising of his consciousness, the revealing of greater consciousness, of elevated consciousness. When Jacob wrestles the angel, The angel does not want to be named. The angel wants to be slippery and sneaky, right? But once you name that angel, it has no power over you anymore. You've broken the illusion. You're out of the spell. You're out of the trick. You're out of the trap. So we have mountains, peaks, ladders, and balloons are all sublimatio images. As with all the operations, sublimatio or sublimation has a shadow potential. Through ascension, there is a risk of separating from the others, of sensing oneself as higher or above. This risk is particularly great in spiritual traditions that offer a linear model of achievement. The divine alchemist rises humbly and supports the upliftment of others, always in touch with the cycle of humanity. Service is the natural balancing agent for sublimatio. It may be the next rung on your ladder. Now, this calls to mind specifically when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. And his whole point was that we are not becoming these elevated priests and like the Pharisees who are above other people. Like, our job as the disciples, as the apostles, we are here to serve others. So even though I might be the spiritual authority coming into the room, I'm here as a servant. You're not here to serve me. I'm here as a humble servant to serve you. And that's why Jesus got down and washed the feet of his disciples. And they were like, Master, I can't possibly let you wash my feet. I'm not worthy of this. I'm a wretch. I know nothing. And Jesus was like, you're missing the point. Because we're all going to be serving other people that are also lesser than we are. They don't know what we know yet. And we can't be high and mighty and self-righteous. We have to meet them where they are. And we have to remain humble. And we have to do this. We have to give and serve and share with humility. Not down on ourselves for not being enough, for not doing enough, but wanting to give more. I want to be more so I can give more. I want to be braver and more courageous. I want to have more energy and more perseverance. I want to have more patience. I want to be warmer and kinder and just naturally get along better with this person or that person, right? We are here not to be high and mighty and self-righteous above others, but we are here to be the servants who get down in the dirt and wash the feet of who we are nurturing, who we're feeding, who we're serving. All right, you guys. And let's see, go deeper. Watch the final scene of The Red Balloon by Albert Lemoyris, and to ponder the magic of air travel. Hike up a mountain or gaze out an airplane window. Notice sublimatio occurring within. You may feel wonder, awe, or a shift in perspective. Use this energy to write or draw. Dissociation is an example of sublimatio in shadow. So remember, we were talking about dissociation, avoiding the pain, checking out, right? Oh, I don't want to deal with this. I want to avoid it, right? This is the shadow aspect of sublimation. It's like you just want to rise up out of the muck and not deal with it and leave it behind and forget it ever happened. Just keep putting on the happy face. Keep plugging in the lights of the Christmas tree. Just keep focusing on the shiny objects, and it'll all be over soon. And then we'll be back into our busy schedules of the mundane, and and it's like, no. The tender heart is a gift during holiday season. There's so much treasure to be uncovered. So we can't afford to avoid it. We can't afford to dissociate, right? We need to get grounded, and we need to, when we make peace with that pain, it can't keep us afraid and frozen anymore, right? That's what athletes understand. and dancers, right? People who have to discipline their body to perform in a certain way, you make peace with pain because you know that the pain is positive. You know that the pain, that there's gifts in the pain. You know that the pain means that you're going to be fitting into that dress. You know that the pain means that you're going to have more definition in your muscle tone. You know that the pain means that you're going to be able to run a faster mile, right? And so the same is true for our spiritual muscles, that the pain is actually the beginning of the process of growth. But no growth really comes until we feel that pain. We haven't stretched our muscle far enough. We haven't broken the muscle down in order for it to be rebuilt stronger. So dissociation is an example of sublimatio in shadow. When this card appears, reconnect with the feelings you'd rather avoid. Oh wait, hold on. When this card appears, reconnect with the feelings you'd rather avoid. Be with them rather than rising above them. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's what my growing up at my church, my pastor used to do that when he would get pumped up by something, some real revelation or realization. He would say, wow, 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 wow. He would just go off, and then he would be crying, and then sometimes he would have like a snot that would run so long. And I've been totally that person recently. I've been reading this guy's work. It's so inspiring, and it's just very touching and moving. He's a Catholic mystic. I brought him up the other day, but I was every time I read one of his posts, I have to get up and blow my nose like 3 times because it's just sitting there like running and dripping. It's so good. His words are so good. But he's got a series on Advent right now, where he's been posting about it. But his handle is Saint Anthony's Tongue. If you want to check him out, he's really awesome. But don't go without liking my video, and you guys stay tuned and be ready for 2026 prediction series. It's on the way soon. And yeah, that'll be all for tonight. We'll be back together tomorrow for our weekly romance reading. So we will be looking into our love lives and seeing what's going on with that. Until then, may peace be with you. Ciao.